Carl Gustav Jung was a Swiss psychologist and psychoanalyst who is considered the father of psychoanalysis. In fact, Jung was the first president in 1910 of the International Psychoanalytical Association at the recommendation of his friend and mentor, Sigmund Freud. Freud and Jung had a falling out when, in 1912, Jung publicly criticized Freud's theories. Catherine Cook Briggs, one of the authors of the Myers-Briggs type indicator, first developed her interest in personality types in 1917 when she noticed that her lawyer son-in-law had a very different personality than her scientist father and husband. In 1923, Carl Jung's book, Psychological Types, was published in English, and reading it, Catherine Briggs became fascinated with Jung's theories as they were very similar in her mind, though better developed than her own. Since the Myers-Briggs type indicator was first used in 1942, which it was used to help women entering the industrial workforce identify the wartime jobs that might be of most comfortable and effective for them, quote unquote. Many human resources managers and organizational psychologists have used the Myers-Briggs type indicator to help align personalities and job roles. According to CCP Inc., the company formerly known as Consulting Psychologist Press, who owns the rights to the Myers-Briggs type indicator, approximately 1.5 million take the MBTI each year, and that the MBTI is the most widely used personality inventory in history. What many don't know is there exist alternatives to the Myers-Briggs type indicator, alternatives that are more closely aligned with the theories of Carl Jung. That alternative is called the Jungian Type Indicator, or JTI. The Jungian Type Index is an alternative to the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and it was introduced by a Norwegian consulting firm called Optimus Organization Psychology in 2001. Optimus was founded by Norwegian psychologists Thor Odegaard and Halvard E. Ringstad, who spent 10 years using the concepts from Carl Jung's book, Psychological Types, the same ones that Myers and Briggs used, and they used it to develop the Jungian Type Index, or it's also known as the JTI. Personality typing is the qualitative differences between people. It classifies personality according to temperament and personality qualities. The JTI consists of 56 questions administered online or on paper, and there are 14 questions in each of 4 dimensions. They are energy, experience, decision, and orientation. And I will say that I had to translate these using Google Translate from the Optimist Organizational Psychology website, and I am assuming that these are an accurate translation. Energy, according to the Optimist website, measures the direction of a person's energy as either extroverted or introverted. And experience measures how we perceive information as either sensing or intuiting information. Decision making measures how we evaluate or decide as either thinking or feeling. And orientation measures how we prefer to deal with the world as either judging or perceiving. JTI delivers individualized combinations of the 4 possible preferences. Overall, there are 16 possible different types. The Jungian type index differs from the Myers-Briggs in that the designers better understood Carl Jung's theories that individuals are complex and dynamic and wanted to create a tool that acknowledged this dynamic complexity and perceived duality of types. An empirical investigation using taxometric analysis found the discrete dimensions of the Myers-Briggs to be static characteristics, whereas the continuous measurements of the Jungian type index are more fluid and more reliable and valid. Comparisons of the JTI scales and the Myers-Briggs were found congruent, and the JTI supports reliability coefficients above 0.7, which indicates that the test meets a high standard of reliability. Though the JTI lurks in the shadows, to use a phrase of Carl Jung's, it lurks in the shadows of the Myers-Briggs in the United States. It is much more widely used and even considered the standard from what I could read in Europe and in Asia. Oh, now, before I go, don't be confused by the free online Jung typology test. Don't confuse that with the Jungian type index, which is owned by Optimus Organization Psychology. One is junk science, at least from the research I was able to find, and the other is designed and controlled by a Jungian psychologist who's also a psychometrician. Thanks.